All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Predict the Pros, episode number 3. I'm your host, Joshua Hilton, and with me right now is Kevin Kamir.
Hey everybody.
And hopefully we'll again have Weldon Green on a little bit later tonight. I have, a few things I need to talk to him about, bring up, throw in his face, sharing his pain. It'll be a great time. So, without further enjoyment of the pain that I will be inflicting later today, let's jump right into it. Looking at the predictions we had last week, fewer number of people, probably because of the fewer number of games. And so, but yeah, nobody got perfect, even though there were only 4 games. I wonder why. Once again, though, Kevin has led the pack, doing very nicely for himself, plus one other person, Eskir. Good job, Eskir.
Yeah.
And, of course, the game that messed up everybody, for TSM. But, and then for us other two, Weldon and I both got 2. Weldon incorrectly picked a game in EU, and I incorrectly picked a game in North America. And so you can see there, with H2K Gaming and my Cloud9 boys, it was an interesting weekend. I feel like started off slow, a little bit of excitement on Saturday, and then just kind of crescendoed onto the madness that was Sunday and TSM's game. And so with that, let's just spend a moment or two talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know it's predict, and we're in general looking to the future, but my goodness, nobody predicted that.
Yeah,
Nobody.
that was, I think, probably the biggest upset in LCS history. Whether it's NA or EU or whatever it is, I'm pretty sure that was, a lot of people would vote on that. That was the biggest upset in history. Most people were saying, like, TSM's going to 3-0 for sure. That was the standard prediction. But most people were saying, like, a lot of people were saying, like, it's 100%. Like, Clutch does not have a chance. Where the vast majority of people are always like, there's always a chance. There's always some crazy thing. Someone could get sick on stage. You never know. So whatever crazier things have happened. But I think everybody. I think even probably people close to Clutch Gaming were like, yeah, TSM's probably going to take this one. But everybody in the kind of tight bit of their organization, the players and the coaching staff and stuff like that, I think they had the belief because they got rocked in Game 1, actually.
Yeah.
I was super impressed with TSM's start. It was actually exactly how I thought things were going to go, is Bjergsen is just bullying in Forbidden so hard, and it allowed Mike Young to steal the red buff and the Raptors, actually, from Lyra to begin the game. And because of Bjergsen's priority in mid, it allowed Mike Young to just come back and run through mid lane, and no one ever saw him, so they had no idea. And I believe Lyra was taking the long time clearing his jungle, so they got a huge lead, and Mike Young did a good job of bringing that lead and kind of delivering that back to the laners as well. So TSM did a great job in the first game, but I was a little bit concerned because they basically just 50-50 to Baron. It was pretty much just like, oh, we're winning the game. Hey, let's just 50 this Baron. Let's just try it. Why not? Who cares? And it worked out well for them, and it's like, okay, it's fine. So let's clean. And it looks like everything you see at the end, and you're like, okay, that was a clean game. But that very easily could have turned, so that had me a tiny bit worried. But then Game 2 started, and there's the turret dive in bot lane. Let me just actually look at my notes here, because I believe Game 2 was when there was a 4-man dive in bot lane at 3 minutes. Again, because exactly what we talked about last week, Bjergsen is just non-stop priority in mid lane, so he gets to do whatever he wants around the map. So yeah, you can 4-man turret dive 3 minutes into the lane. And then that was, of course, the infamous Forbidden says, hey guys, I'm TPing, it's going to be all cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, never mind, I'm trolling. Sorry, I have cleanse. And then also Apollo had cleanse, and he used it. I think thought he had heal as well. So there were 2 botched summoners in that fight. So immediately right off the bat, I was like, oh no, like things have gone from worse to even worse now, and Clutch Gaming is not going to survive this. It's going to be an easy 3-0. It's over. And then basically Lyra pretty much said, no, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to do that. And he just invaded Mike Young's jungle and just caught him out. I think while he was doing Krugs or backing or something on low HP, and just killed him. And then it's basically like, okay, cool, I'm taking over the game now. It's all good. And then Hakuho, of course, we'll talk more about that in the next few games, but he's playing out of his mind with hook champs. Apollo just constantly just solid, which is all you want out of your AD carry. Just don't die, deliver damage, just clear minions, attack turrets, easy peasy. And Fabivin was phenomenal in team fights, which we expected from him. All my criticisms of Fabivin have not been on his like play overall. It's been on his kind of lack of kind of aggression in mid lane, his lack of being able to help his jungler and rotate down the lanes because he's getting pushed under his turret constantly. But once he's outside of that, he's phenomenal. He's the best mid laner in the league, very potentially, in like team fights and kind of skirmishes and stuff. He was carrying team fights. He was so strong once it get involved in team play. Like I said, Fabivin reminds me so much of myself, not in that I'm anywhere remotely close to as good as him, but we have a similar play style, and that's like, let's just survive lane, just farm, get turret damage, keep your turret alive, like don't do any risky roams, just chill, survive, get to late game, you'll win in team phase. And that's my strategy for the vast majority of my champions and roles and games and stuff like that. And Fabivin plays that perfectly. He is like what I would hope to achieve if I played perfectly, you know what I mean? Like he is that exactly what I want out of a player, where it's just like consistent high level play, not very many risks, just play where you're strong. If you're not great, he's probably not as good as a lot of the other mid laners at just kind of stomping early game, so he doesn't play that way. He plays where he's strong and avoids where he's weak, and that's all you can ask out of a player. And solo, I was super impressed with this series. He 1v1'd Hauntzer, I believe, at one point, and the rest of the time he was keeping him at bay, completely neutralizing Hauntzer. He had better TPs, I believe, during the series. There was one team I'd fight in particular, I think it was at the third or the fourth game. They TP'd around Dragon for a fight, and Hauntzer's TP, and it was also partially, of course, the team's warding. You have to kind of take that into account as well. But Hauntzer's TP was out of position, and Solo's TP was perfectly in position, and he got a huge Gnar ultimate in that team fight, turned things around, made things really easy for them. So I was super impressed with everybody on CG's play, specifically Lyra, Solo, and Hakuho, though, because Fabivin, I feel like I expect that type of. I'm like I never expected him to be bad whatsoever in the series. I just thought that Bjergsen would have more of an advantage and more control early, which he did, but Fabivin made up for that way later in the game, so it did not matter. Super impressed with Clutch Gaming. And I think that TSM just kind of fell apart. Like TSM really started tilting. I feel like Mike Young's kind of like mental just collapsed. Hauntzer, you could kind of see in the player cam as well. Every once in a while, he was just like, what are we doing again? Like, why? It's like an out of body experience almost, where you're like, I don't feel like myself right now. Because usually Hauntzer is very confident, very kind of composed. And Sven and Mithy are phenomenal players, probably potentially the best bot lane in NA, excuse me. But they just were not themselves that game. I think part of it was Clutch's ban phase, though. I think Clutch's pick and ban was really strong. I think the preparation for that series was really good, and I think that had a huge impact on what actually happened in the series, because Sven didn't really get to play Ezreal very much, and he was on a lot kind of more unsafe champions. He was on the COG, he got caught out a lot. There was a lot of times where I saw him do things where like he would turn back in team fights or like skirmishes and stuff for one more auto attack, and that got him killed sometimes, where it's like, do you really need that extra auto attack? Just stay alive. Like we don't need to kind of push ourselves that extra step. And I feel like that's what TSM kind of fell into as Clutch Gaming got ahead. TSM started kind of thinking like, oh man, we gotta make something happen to come back. We gotta make something happen, and that just snowballed. And that's exactly what CG wants, is they want you to make those over aggressive plays and then punish you for that aggression.
Yeah, I mean, so talking about the COG there, it definitely felt like, I mean, isn't always the case when you pick Kog'Maw that you're playing a protected Kog'Maw comp, but it's like 90% of the time you are. And I felt like every single one of TSM's games when they had COG, it was in that situation. So it didn't feel like their mentality was aligned with, a protect the Kog'Maw. And, part of that was, Kog'Maw's getting caught out. Like, I mean, if you're playing with that team comp, you really do have to, you just have to have the mentality of going into it with that style. Like, you have to be a lot more picky, I guess is the word. I'm not quite sure how to.
Just careful in general. Just have to understand that you're dealing with like it's fragile. This is very fragile champion, and a part of that is kind of Clutch Gaming playing well and not really giving them a chance to kind of relax and stabilize the game and be like, let's just get this Kog'Maw farm, which is what they were trying to do. Like, just put Kog'Maw in the side lane, let's get some farm, we'll take this to late game, it'll all be cool, don't worry about it. But then Clutch Gaming is like, okay, well, cool, you're going to leave the Kog'Maw alone, well, we'll punish that and then go try and take something else on top of that. Oh, man, it makes me
exactly what you were talking about, and this is probably what you were thinking of, but in mid lane where Cog was killing a few minions completely by himself, and then he ate, I think, a Caitlyn crit, a Caitlyn ult, and then the Olaf came running in to throw an axe and one-hit kill him, and then jumped out with Thresh. Like, just the tiniest bit too far forward. If he'd just been two Teemos further back towards his
and
base.
Sven is not one to usually make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's why I really feel like there was just like a mental collapse within the team, because it really felt like the team was just not playing. Like Sven and Mithy are way better than what they showed. Mike Young, I feel like I can understand that he's more of a rookie, like he's new to this. He's on a very like high pressure situation with TSM. Like you're supposed to win this series is like the guaranteed win. It's that they're handing you the series, like just take it. And I think after the second game, after he's like, we got such a big lead and we threw that, and it's like, oh, what are these guys better than us? Are we actually as good as we think we are? What's going on here? And I feel like pretty much everybody except for Bjergsen just was not playing up to what they should be playing. They're way better players than they actually showed in games 2, 3, and 4. And I think game 1 showed like what a TSM that's actually working together and playing at a good level can do, minus the 50-50 Baron. But they got it.
Well,
so I mean, hey,
I would say that was probably more along the lines of. I mean, so this is the killer, right? Like overconfidence when you screw up. It's like, why did you think you could do that? Overconfidence when it succeeds, like, you know, they just thought they could do it. They thought they had it, and they did. Game 1, they did. Games 2, 3, and 4, they did not. And yeah, it's the mindset that comes out when you're playing a best of 5. It's just so fascinating to me because, especially the teams that are capable of handling. I was so tilted after that tower dive in game 2. Like I saw game 1, I'm like, okay. Like I sat down expecting this to be over and done with. It's gonna be real short. You know, we're gonna get out of here. You know, we're gonna have an early dinner. No. But yes, first game, yes, okay. Like everything seems to be going according to what's the Japanese word or whatever for plan. And then
I have no idea.
the translator's note is, you know, needs plan. But like, and then seeing that in game 2 with the dive, and they didn't even lose anybody if I remember correctly. So 4-man dive, 2 people, and I don't think they lost anyone.
I feel like
see.
I feel like they traded 1 for 1 or something, or maybe they did get the maybe they didn't lose anybody. I don't remember. I actually don't have it written down in notes, but I have. The beginning of my notes for game 2 are TSM 4-man ganks bot at 3 minutes. Lol. Bjergsen mid priority is just non-stop. TSM 1k gold lead at 3 minutes 30 seconds. Lol. But Bivin uses cleanse instead of TP. Lol. Like it's non-stop. Like, oh and man, Clutch is falling apart. TSM's gonna steamroll. It's over. And then I'm like, oh, Lyra just 1v1 Mike Young in the topside jungle. Okay. Okay, Mike Young takes Cloud Drake. Okay, it's gonna be fine. Lyra ganks bot and CG gets 2 killed. Oh, okay. And this is the first time that Sven. This is the specific one I was talking about, where he literally, Mithy's dead, and Sven actually turns over. He's running away from 3 people, and he turns around for 1 more auto attack, and that auto attack is what gets him killed. And it's just like, why? Like that's a mistake that I would make, and I'm a plat player. Like these are like the best players in the world. Like you can't make that mistake. And I think I really just feel like it's them kind of like being like, no, we can get it. No, we can get it. We're good enough. We can get it. And then each time they do that, Clutch punishes. And they're like, but no, well, last time was a fluke. We can get it this time. And Clutch punishes. And by the 3rd and 4th time you're trying to make those plays, now even if you do them correctly, it's too late. Clutch is too far ahead. And I really feel, I mean, and we're not even mentioning this, but TSM didn't ban Thresh. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, I'm sure there was planning behind it, and I'm sure they're like, yeah, we can't spare it, or we think we can beat it, or whatever it is. But it's like when he beats you 3 games in a row, it's like maybe on the 3rd one, maybe just give it a shot, maybe. Because Hakuho was just playing out of his mind, so it's like, well, force him to do that on another champion. Like, force him to beat you. Don't just hand him what has been proven. Just make him show that he can do something else. And if he can, then hey, whatever, we lost. Who cares? But I just feel like it's one of those things where it's so hard to see that pattern and not try and put a stop to it when you know that something else isn't working. But like I said, I'm not in the mind of the coaching staff or the players or whoever is making those decisions and stuff. And maybe the players are going, no, we can beat it. No, I'm telling you, we can beat it.
My guess
and then
is
they don't.
That's probably what it is. That like, so I mean, I've seen like some people were talking about how Thresh, yeah, he brings a lot of additional things to the table more than Blitzcrank, but still at its core, it's the hooking champ. And
Mhm.
so professional players are saying like, you can avoid the hooks, then you're fine, you're golden. And so yeah, so there's maybe something like we're not losing due to that. But it goes back to like, this is completely different. It's a best of fives. You have to think about how the flow of the game and series are going, and like you said, like, it's not even necessarily just something that you think because like you can handle it. It's also getting into the other player's mind of taking him off the champion he's been doing really well on, and so forcing him to switch gears.
Like, prove you can do that on another champion. You've shown you can do it on Thresh. Now prove you can do it on someone else. Because and that's the other thing as well, is they were banning Rakan the entire time, every single time. So part of my assumption there is like maybe Hakuho's just dumpstering everybody on Rakan and scrims and stuff like that, and they're like, hey, like Thresh is the lesser of like two other evils. So like, we don't want him on Rakan, we don't want him on Morg. Yeah. Like, fine, take Thresh, who cares? But I think it was game 3, I believe it was. It might have been game 4, I forget which one. But it was literally just like the camera kept nonstop going down to bot lane because Hakuho was landing hook after hook after hook, and he wasn't even going in on them. He was just hooking. There's a bit of poke. All right, another hook. There's a bit of poke. Another hook, there's a bit of poke, and either they have to back off, or they're going to die, or they lose their turret, or get out CS'd. Like, you just keep getting hit by it. And like you said, in a best of 5 series like this, I think a huge part of winning these series and doing well is kind of keeping your mentality okay. And I think when you keep giving that guy the champion where he's like, I'm a god, I'm landing every single hook today, you can't stop me, he's going to have like, well, we won this game, the game's already over, and vice versa. Once you get hit by 5 hooks in a row, and for 3 of those 5, you're like, I should not have gotten hit by those hooks. The 6th one, you're probably going to miss it because you're doubting yourself at that point. You're second guessing yourself, going, okay, normally I dodge this side, and he threw it that side last time, so I should go this side, but oh my god, he's going to know I'm doing that, he's smarter than me, and then you end up screwing it, you juke into the hook, and it's just, you could tell by the kind of decline in the play, specifically in the bot lane of TSM, that it was just like Thresh. I honestly, I don't say this that often, but I really feel like they just straight tilted. They were just not playing like themselves at all. They were making silly mistakes. They were being over aggressive in some spots and being too passive in some spots. It was just really, really interesting to see from such high level players. Like I said, that's why I'm focusing specifically on the bot lanes, because like Sven and Mithy are like, that's the duo. That's like who you want in your bot lane, Sven Mithy. Like that's the duo in Western League, and they just were not playing like themselves in that series. And we keep saying that TSM wasn't playing that great, but Clutch was playing phenomenally as well. And I think that's exactly why it was such a crazy kind of blowout after the first game, at least, is because Clutch was playing so well and TSM was playing below what they should have been. So that combined together makes for a huge gap.
Absolutely. And so let's throw in a little rampant speculation here. Do you think the mindset was primarily, I don't want to say, Zevin and Mithy's fault, but
I feel like
more
it was
between them, or is it more of kind of a team environment, you think?
I feel like it was kind of a team collapse. I feel like, and it might be the team environment, because I know TSM is very like rigid and kind of harsh and very like, hey, like if you get something wrong, fix it, or else there's going to be a problem. So I feel like it might have been like, once they made those mistakes, like I said, they kept trying so hard to get it back, because they're like, well, we can't do that. We can't make these mistakes. It's unacceptable for us to make these mistakes. And then you have to have the mentality of, hey, it's okay. We made the mistake. It's in the past. What can we do now to try and figure things out? And they're just like, we got to get it back. So I feel like it was more of a team thing. I really feel like Bjergsen was the only player who played the same during the entire series. I feel like he didn't decline at all. It's just that everyone else around him was kind of declining in their play, and then in turn that makes him look weaker, which is kind of what he was saying about the entire season. He's like, I haven't been playing any better or worse. It's just like everyone around me has been kind of allowing me to unlock myself more, and I feel like that's kind of what happened, but in reverse. Like TSM at the beginning of the season, not great, and then they like looking are amazing, and then it's like, okay, well then the rest of them are kind of shutting down, and then Bjergsen looks kind of average, and he looks like, well, he's not really doing anything anymore, and it's like, yeah, well, it's like when you play a jungler and every lane is losing. It's like there's not much you can do. It's really hard to do that. And that's partially why I was so impressed with Lyra's plays, because Lyra really, I feel like he was like the reverse Mike Young, in that Mike Young was kind of like the first one to crack on TSM and be like, oh no, I can't do it anymore. Where Lyra was the first one on CG to be like, no, I don't care if we're behind. I'm winning this game. Like, I do not care what's going on. We are going to win this game. And he started kind of like the wave. He started the ball rolling, and then Hakuo was like, "Oh, cool, we're gonna win. All right, let's carry. Let's do this." And of course, like I said, a solo stepped up for sure, and Forbidden just been playing amazingly the entire season. So that all combined together, perfect storm, and CG pulls off the upset of the decade.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
And start looking for this upcoming set of games. And so we'll just run through real quick. I imagine, well, no, maybe we don't have the exact same, but to start off with,
I believe we do for this week. Yeah, I believe we do.
Okay.
But that's why I like to bring in the specific numbers of the series. Like 3-1, 3-2, 3-0,
yeah.
And then that way we can differ a little bit potentially. But yeah, I have G2 in this. I mean, right off the bat, G2 beat Splice in the tiebreaker at the end of the season. So right there, you're like, okay, well, G2 hopefully should win. I think that Splice is a pretty good team, but I think that the Rawcat series made them look better than they are, because I think Rawcat is just bad, unfortunately. So I think that Splice's top lane and jungle combo of Ottawamne and Xerxes is really good. Really good. Like, really good. So basically, Splice is just like, hey, let's just play safe bot lane. Let's just carry through top lane. We can win these 2v2s in top lane, no problem. So I do feel like there's a little bit of potential danger there for G2, especially since Wunder has been playing very well on like stuff like split push Camille and whatnot. So I feel like Camille is going to be a very tightly contested pick. Jankos has been looking great recently. I think that Xerxes and Jankos, like I have more faith in Xerxes. I feel like he's slightly more consistent, but I feel like Jankos is like ceiling is higher. Like when Jankos is playing well, I feel like he's better, but I feel like he can screw up sometimes. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I like G2's pick and bans though. I think that they're pretty solid, so hopefully that'll be good in the best of 5. I am worried, like I said, about the Camille. We'll see if it's just banned every game or they're picking it side to side. But Wunder's really strong on that. I'm not sure if he can play tanks as well as he can with these split push champions. But basically, my what's going to decide the series, I feel, is basically like, is Perkz going to int? Is he going to play well or is he going to int? Because that's pretty much what decides games for G2. Like, since I've been following EU LCS for the last like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, because I didn't watch pretty much anything at the beginning until we started doing this.
Yeah.
And every single one of the G2 games that I've looked at, it's been like, okay, well, did Perkz int? Okay, they're going to lose. Okay, did he not int? Okay, well, they win. Like, that's pretty much the pattern that I found in the G2 games. So if Perkz plays well, I think that G2 takes this series no problem. But I'm very worried that Perkz might do something silly. Jankos might do something silly. But I feel like Perkz kind of steps up when it comes to playoffs. He's kind of like a big game player. So I do have faith in G2 to turn it on now that it's playoffs. So I'm predicting G2 to take the series 3-2. I'm thinking they're going to take it 3-1, but I'm doing 3-2 because there's a chance Splice wins this. So I want to make it seem like I'm like, yeah, I knew Splice could take it, you know. But I think if G2 wins, they're probably going to win 3-1 if they win.
Okay. I'll go with G2 wins 3-0. I think playoffs buff is going to come in strong for them. I mean, even if Xerxes tries to, like, he's going to have such a hard time trying to figure out focusing mid or top. Because I think I agree with you in that. Well, actually, no. I take that back.
He won't focus mid. He's not going to focus mid. He's not going to. He's going to focus top for sure.
And so
they don't play around bot. They don't play around mid very much. Niski lucked out in the first game, and then he got a bunch of kills on Kassadin, so they carried through mid. But like it's Xerxes and Ottawamne. They're the buddies. They're gonna gank top for sure.
And then so 100%. especially without that additional pressure on Perkz, then I think G2 is just gonna stroll through.
They very easily could, and that's what I'm so nervous for this series, because it's like, well, G2 could play horribly and Splice is more than good enough to punish them for that, but G2 could play like they should and just absolutely wipe the floor with Splice.
Yeah.
So we'll see who shows up.
Exactly. And so I actually think with the next game, Fnatic and Vitality, I think that's actually going to be closer. After watching Vitality's series, I wouldn't straight up call it messy, but it was
messy.
It was a little all
messy.
over the place.
But I feel like that's what like Vitality thrives in, though. Like they love the mess. Like and they're good in that.
Like if they can get Fnatic, down on their level. I'm gonna say 3-2 Fnatic. I think Fnatic will get it in the end, but I think Vitality is gonna make a good run for it.
I'm very nervous for Vitality. I feel like it's very possible they could just get completely stomped. I think that's a very possible, very likely possibility, actually. Also, I think I was reading on Reddit that Soaz is injured his hand, and Bwipo is going to be subbing for top lane.
Really?
For Fnatic, yeah. I mean, I'll double check that so I'm not talking nonsense, but I'm pretty darn sure I saw that. Yeah, Soaz injured, Fnatic to start Bwipo. Yeah.
Wow.
So he's going to be out for, I think it said 2.5 weeks. But I mean, thinking about it, even if he comes back, they'll probably still even if he's back for like the finals, they'll still probably start Bwipo because Soaz would have been playing League for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But yeah, so that I think is a little interesting. I think it's like, maybe there might be some sort of shenanigans then. But I also think that like, okay, well, Soaz is good, but Soaz isn't like, you can replace Soaz with somebody else, and Fnatic is still Fnatic, basically. You know what I mean? Like he's it sounds funny because Soaz has been a part of Fnatic since forever.
Yeah.
But I feel like the main reason that Fnatic is doing so well is Rekkles, Caps, Broxah. I feel like you have those three, you're going to win games. It's going to be okay.
Gameplay-wise, yes. But I don't know, like, taking a veteran out of that, I think that could mess with the dynamic enough to...
It could.
Drop them low enough. Man, I didn't even know about the sub.
Yeah, that just happened or came out today. But yeah, it's funny because I was like, oh man, does that change anything? And I really kind of thought about it, and I was like, it kind of doesn't actually. I really honestly don't care. I feel like Fnatic's good enough, and Bwipo, and I believe I used to call him Bwipo, but I believe it's pronounced Bwipo. I think he's serviceable enough that he's not as good as Soaz probably, but I think he's fine. Like I think he's totally fine. I think that why can't I think? He's facing Cabochard in top lane. Cabo did not impress me in that last series. Not like basically if he's not on Sion, he's not like those are my notes for the Vitality basically in general. It's like, okay, if Jizuke's not on Ryze or Taliyah and Cabochard isn't on Sion, what are they? What are these guys? They're like a feeding Jack Troll on Thresh and like a one-trick mini Truepax on Caitlyn. It's like, what are we doing here? And you have to, like, this team relies so much on Jizuke just, like, popping off and just, like, hard carrying games and just non-stop domination of mid lane. And just, like, the guy is just, like, he's just like, I'm gonna kill him, Like, he's just always doing something. He's like, I'm gonna go 1v2 split push. I'm gonna try and set up this wall so we can steal Baron. Like, he's just non-stop doing stuff. But I feel like a huge portion of that comes from his play on Taliyah or Ryze. So I feel like you keep Cabo off Sion, keep Jizuke off Taliyah and Ryze, and I feel like Vitality is not that much of a threat, to be honest. Their play has been pretty shaky, and their Baron contests are like their Baron control and managing Barons and stuff is atrocious, is terrible. So I really feel like even if Vitality gets an early lead, which I feel like is their only way to victory, I still feel like they're going to throw it. And Fnatic's going to beat them late game because Caps and Rekkles are just late game team fighting gods. And I feel like Broxah will hold off early game well enough that Vitality's not going to get an unsurmountable lead. And I feel like Fnatic's just going to take it no problem. I was really kind of wrestling back and forth. I for sure I said Fnatic, of course, but I was wrestling back and forth. I'm like, will Vitality like take a game? And I'm like, I don't think they will. I think Fnatic's going to stomp them. I think that even if Vitality gets ahead, they're still going to lose. I was so unimpressed with Vitality's decision making in sort of mid to late game in that H2K series. That series was just like throw back and forth. I was just like, okay, well, Vitality threw to H2K. Oh, but H2K threw back to them, so Vitality wins. Okay. Okay, well, Vitality threw, and H2K didn't throw back, so H2K wins. Okay. So I feel like they have a lot of skill on that team, but it's just like a lot of the time they're just kind of like, well, let's just try it. We can do it probably. We'll figure it out. Let's make it happen. It's kind of like Echo Fox style of like, hey guys, we're such badasses. Let's just make this happen. And it's like, oh, it went wrong. Oh, well, whatever. Let's try again. Who cares? Oh, it went wrong again. Oh, okay. And now we lose. So it's like when they do well, they look like super good. But if it's 50-50. You're flipping a coin each time, and I feel like you can't coin flip against Fnatic. You can coin flip and maybe win once, but you're not going to win a best of 5 just coin flipping like that.
Gotcha. And so wait, so what did you say then? 3-1?
Oh, sorry, I said 3-0 Fnatic.
3-0. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have I just have such little faith in Vitality. I like after every single game, I was like, Vitality is so bad around Baron. Vitality is so bad around Baron. And I believe, let me just check my note again. I believe my note for the end of the series there was Vitality win, but they suck. That's my notes. Oh yeah, and then also of course the Cabochard, don't put him on Sion, Jizuke, keep him off Talia Rise. And also in that series, Red Side won every single game, so I didn't look too deep into it, but maybe Vitality can only win on Red Side? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I just was unimpressed overall. I thought that both teams aren't terrible, but they're definitely not good, and Fnatic is too good to lose to that.
Okay, so tell me this. If we both put $100 in, and I would win if Vitality managed to take one game off of Fnatic, would you
I would not bet.
No,
okay. Absolutely not. No, I was really wrestling between the 3-1 and the 3-0.
Okay.
But I think part of it was that there was 2 3-0s last week when I didn't think there would be, and I was like, you know what, like the Team Liquid Cloud9 series, I was like, that series is way closer than the score suggests. And I feel like it's going to be like this in this game. I feel like there's going to be 1 or 2 potentially close games, but Fnatic will win. Their late game macro is better, and their late game carries are just better. So I feel like I said, like even if Vitality like looks good in a game, I feel like Fnatic's still going to win every single game.
Mm-hmm.
So it might look closer than a 3-0, but I feel like it's still going to be a 3-0. But like I said, I'm not willing to bet on that.
Interesting.
Saving my money.
Save your money. All right. Echo Fox and Liquid. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I think Liquid is going to take this. Not for sure, but most likely for sure. Echo Fox has looked pretty, I don't want to say bad recently, but they have not looked like their former selves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure whether they're using subs or not. I don't know who's going to be playing. The one saving grace is that they have Huni and Dardoch, who could pop off at any time, and just either one of those guys could just solo carry a game. So I think that it's almost guaranteed. No, I don't want to say guaranteed, because Echo Fox could easily get 3-0'd. But I feel like it's likely that Echo Fox is going to win one game just off of the back of like their top lane jungle duo, which is god tier. Mm-hmm. Huni is just really hard to not only play against, but pick around as well. And in a best of 5 series, that's a huge advantage for any team that he's on. But Echo Fox has just not looked good lately. Their bot, I don't know who's playing in their bot lane, but I'm pretty sure no matter who they have in support, they can't play Xayah Rakan duo. So they just have to get that off there with picks and bans. So I feel like that's kind of a hindrance for them as well. And I feel like Team Liquid's macro is pretty good. Like their mid and late game macro, I was actually pretty impressed by it in the series against Cloud9, and that was the difference. Is like the games were very back and forth, and then it's like, oh, here comes mid to late game, and we're like playing around Baron. Well, Team Liquid wins every single time. They're just better at moving around the map and contesting those objectives.
Yeah.
And I feel like Echo Fox, their only chance is to just snowball, basically. So I feel like they have a chance to do that one game, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that 3 games. So I have Liquid winning 3-1 in this.
Gotcha. Yeah, they definitely showed. Liquid showed their skill with objective control, absolutely, against Cloud9. I'm looking at the World Esports. I mean, I assume this is just left over from the week 9, but
yeah, I don't think they have to say who they're starting until like right before, pretty much.
It was interesting because EU's got it updated for Fnatic. Not with so as out, but instead of showing just one sub, it shows two subs, which, if I remember correctly, you're actually only allowed to take one sub in with you.
Yeah, you have to 6-man roster for playoffs.
So now that I'm looking, so Echo Fox and Team Liquid both have their full roster listed, so they don't have a single sub. So I would assume
they're starting the regulars.
They're starters, yeah.
I would imagine so. I mean, I feel like Phoenix hasn't been incredible, but he's been good. I mean, Demonte was actually good too. So, but I don't know. I feel like you got to give that roster another chance. You got to at least let them, and then if they fail, then you figure it out. But
yeah,
give them a chance at least. I don't know. Those were the guys that got you to the second round here in playoffs, anyways. So I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. For me, yeah. I mean, I think this is partially a little bit like, since they beat Cloud9, then I want them to continue winning on, and so at least be able
so you
to
can say you
lost to the tournament winners.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, Liquid played very well. They played very well. The games were, and like you said, I fully agree that it despite the scoreline being 3-0, they were very close, especially the first two. And so, yeah, I think Team Liquid's shown the strong mentality. I'm not sure how good Echo Fox is, especially after a bit of a losing streak there, not even counting week 9. That they really kind of been, it's like old TSM, cruising on just winning every single lane and not having
win lane, win game.
Worry about too much actual macro.
So that's the problem. You can't win lane, win game when you got the bot lane that Echo Fox does, which is going to be an issue because Doublelift has been playing very well. Doublelift didn't die the entire series. I mean, it's obviously 3 games, but still, that's pretty good. Like he's been playing very consistent, even when Team Liquid was doing silly stuff, because they did mess up a few times in all those games. He was the one that seemed to be like, it felt to me like Doublelift was like the adult, and it was a bunch of kids doing something silly, and he was like, kids, you know what I mean? Like he's been here forever. He's like, this is like his 10th playoffs or something like that. He's just like, silly guys, what are you doing? And I was like, we're just chilling in the back and stuff. And I mean, obviously it's the AD carry he's going to position towards the back, but still, it really felt like he was the one who kind of was like, but I think also part of that is he's been known to have a very kind of pessimistic shot calling style. So I think potentially they're like, we can do this, and he's like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna fail, so I'll just chill back here. Then so when we do fail, I'm back and I say, see guys, I told you we were gonna fail that. Come on, I'm gonna go farm again now. But I still think that is a big, like I always say, like AD carry. All I want from my AD carry is just don't die. Just don't die and just be there for fights. Just do damage, kill turrets, clear waves, and don't die. And Doublelift did exactly that. So I think with the shot calling that Liquid has, I was very impressed with their kind of team-based movements in like I said, the mid early late game, kind of around that like late 20 minutes, like between 25-30 minutes or so. I really like their map movements, and I feel like that's going to be pretty easy to punish Echo Fox, especially since I think they're going to get a lead in bot lane early. And I think once that happens, it's going to be pretty rough for Echo Fox. Unless, like we said, Huni pops off and Dardoch pop off, but I feel like Huni could play really well, and he's going to have to 1v9 basically.
Okay. I think I'm going to go 3-1.
Yeah, that's what I have as well.
Yeah.
Because Echo Fox could take a game. It's entirely possible that they could just snowball a game and make Liquid look terrible. But I feel like it's one of those things where if you just keep like rolling the dice, Liquid's going to win more than Echo Fox. Like if you just play this, if you played 100 games in this series, Liquid would win more than Echo Fox. So there's a chance that Echo Fox could 3-0 them. You never know. But I feel like odds are Liquid will take this series. Yeah. Mathematically.
Mathematically.
Yeah.
All right, and then 100 Thieves and Clutch. So, I have 100 Thieves winning. I think they're just... this word has come back to bite me a couple of times. They definitely had the momentum going in to the end of the season. Took first place for regular season. and just looked really gelled as a team. And especially with the obvious, or what everyone expected to be obvious, TSM winners out of the picture, I think 100 Thieves is going to take the tournament.
Yeah, they very well could. I'm kind of nervous because we haven't seen, of course, 100 Thieves in a week. And the most recent play out of Clutch and Team Liquid has looked amazing. So that's I think that's partially why I'm a little nervous for Echo Fox. Is both 100 Thieves and Echo Fox we haven't seen in a bit, so it's like, have they improved? Have they gotten worse? Like, what's happened? If everything stays the same, then 100 Thieves potentially should be the favorite because they've looked amazing recently. But things can happen in a week. You never know. Like, we just saw Clutch Gaming beat TSM. Maybe Clutch Gaming is going to just 3-0 100 Thieves. I have no idea. Clutch Gaming might be the favorite now. Like, they just took out TSM. Maybe are we crazy to not just say Clutch Gaming is going to win everything at this point? And that's the thing is like, I'm so torn in this series. I really like 100 Thieves. Like, just personally, they're my favorite team in the league right now. And I'm really excited to see what Aphromoo is going to do, because it's basically like Aphromoo versus Hakuho, like pop-off city.
Yeah.
But I feel like Aphro has a bigger champ pool that can pop off. Like, I feel like Hakuho, if you limit, you take away the Morg, you take away the Thresh, potentially the Rakan. I feel like it's going to be harder for him to carry on like an Alistair or a Braum or something like that, where I feel like Aphro can pop off on all those champions. I feel like you can put Aphro on pretty much anything, and he can carry the game.
Absolutely.
He's one of the hardest carrying supports I've ever seen. So I'm really excited to see that battle back and forth with Hakuho and Aphro. And then both Apollo and Cody-san have been playing they've been being the good AD carries. Just don't die, just play waves, just get kills. When I land the skill shot, just follow up, easy peasy.
Yep.
So I'm really excited to see that bot lane matchup. I'm really excited to see the top lane matchup, because Solo has been playing really well recently, and Someday is one of those guys who's like, Someday is a god. It's just a matter of whether he's going to show up. If he shows up, he's so freaking good. He's like one of those really unassuming guys where you're like, Someday hasn't been that amazing, but it's like, even when he was on Dig, and Dig wasn't even doing that well a few years ago, like, he was trying to carry games. Like, this guy's really, really good. And I feel like Ryu is similar in a way, in that, like, people really underestimate him. Like, people have been talking like he hasn't had the best season. I was like, I thought he's had a really good season. Like, I thought Ryu's been playing very well. And of course, like I said, Meteos and Aphro have been getting great picks, really good kind of like a kind of shot calling duo playing off each other, and they kind of just are in sync together. So I'm really excited to see what 100 Thieves can do. But Clutch has been incredibly they beat TSM. I mean, what else can you say? Like, they beat TSM. They should be able to beat 100 Thieves if you can beat TSM, because TSM impressed me more than 100 Thieves did in the lead up to playoffs here. So I'm really excited to see this game. I have 100 Thieves winning at 3-2. I feel like the series is going to be super close. I feel like Clutch could very easily take this series. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea. This is the one I'm most excited for, because I literally have no idea that either team could 3-0 the other. It could be 3-2, super close, down to the wire, 60-minute game 5, all that kind of crazy crap. And I think both teams are smart. That's what I really like about it, is I think both teams have a good support staff around them. I think they're both very, very smart teams, both the players and the staff. So I'm excited to see what they pull out in Champ Select, and I'm excited to see what kind of strats they pull out in game, because I'm just really excited.
Absolutely. And so my take on with should we rank Clutch Gaming higher because they beat TSM? Normally, yes, but I feel like that series just exposed, it wasn't just Clutch Gaming playing so well, it just exposed so many flaws in TSM's current lineup and mentality that they got a very severe downgrade, in my opinion. And so because of that, I don't give Clutch quite as much props as I would otherwise. I mean, you could argue too that it was specifically because of how Clutch played that caused all that, but if TSM was playing the exact same in the first game that they played, well, I guess you could argue they were playing the same in the first game as in the other games because of that overconfidence. But it just feels like they had enough flaws lying underneath them that I don't think 100 Thieves has. So I'm okay with sticking with 100 Thieves.
But that's what's so scary to me is that we have seen 100 Thieves not play well earlier in the season. And I'm so scared now that we've seen TSM falter. I thought for sure TSM was like, oh, no, they fixed everything. It's all good. We're good forever. They're just going to kill everything. They'll make it to finals, no problem. Where now I'm like, oh, my goodness, can that happen to 100 Thieves as well? Oh, no, I'm so scared. I still, like I said, I'm still picking them, but I'm doing a similar thing. I'm hedging my bets like the G2 Splice series. I'm picking 3-2 so that I think, same thing as G2. I think if they win, they're probably going to win 3-1. But I have it 3-2 so that in case Clutch wins, I can say, I knew it was going to be close. But yeah, I can't wait to see who wins, Afro or Hakuho, because I feel like pretty much like that's going to decide it almost, like who's going to pop off more.
So, okay, how about this? Over under for number of support bands, and the number is, say, so 3.5. So over under 3.5 for number of support bands in general.
Let me take a look.
So, I mean, you named 3 earlier with the Thresh, Morgana, and
TSM was banning Rakan from Clutch. I feel like they're gonna want to keep. I feel like it's gonna be one of those things where they're either gonna ban a bunch or nothing. Or like just pretty much nothing, and just be like, have your pick, we'll figure it out kind of thing. We'll just counter you. Because that's one of the things that Afro will do sometimes, is just let the enemy support pick whatever and just be like, okay, cool, I'm going to beat you with this because he knows matchups so well. I'm going to say over. And obviously there's a bunch of different games, so maybe some games are going to be over, some are under. But I could very easily see there being 4 support bans, like Thresh, Morgana, Alistar, Braum.
I feel like 100 Thieves, once, especially if Clutch tries to do anything with it, they'll just run with it and say, we'll just ban out everything and force you onto, like, you have to assume Hakuho's been practicing trying to prepare for that, because, I mean, he's got such an obvious target on his back now.
Yeah, but I feel like they're going to expect it to go.
If you push him far enough down, then, I mean, you get to the outer limits of your champion pool. Who are you going to trust, Aphromoo or Hakuho? I'm going with Aphromoo.
Yeah, Afro I think definitely has the deeper champ pool, and that's why I almost feel like Clutch Gaming is just going to not ban any supports and just be like, well, if you want to take away stuff from Hakuho, then fine, go ahead and use all of your bans on that, and hopefully we'll still have something left over. Because really, even if you use all of your bans, Afro will still probably have something. He can pull out a bunch of weird stuff. And really, there's just enough supports that are viable right now. Like, even if like the 4 that I mentioned are gone, you could pick like Tahm Kench. You got like Shen. He could probably bust out something like a Janna. You know what I mean? Like, he's got the Blitzcrank. He's got a bunch of like weird kind of pocket picks that he can pull out at any time and still play at the highest level. So I'm gonna say the original question I believe was the over under on the support bands. But yeah, I definitely think over. I'm gonna say over. But we'll see. It could be, like I said, could be a lot, could be nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and listening to you talking through it like that, yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit of a mind game. I feel like, I think the first game we're going to see an over, and then the rest of the games is going to be an under.
Though, yeah, because usually kind of like a meta develops in the series, and they'll kind of be like, okay, well, we're not playing this. Ooh, this is really important to both our teams want to accomplish here. Yeah,
when they
start, kind of fight around that.
When they start looking at carry champions, the focus will shift away from support. But I feel fairly confident saying I bet a lot of bans in the first game will be support focused.
Mm-hmm. I could see it. I could also see a bunch of AD carry bans as well to try and put Apollo off of some comfort stuff. Like put him, because if you just give him the Caitlyn, he's going to be super comfy on that. And you could potentially see him getting pushed off of like the Kate, pushed off of the Varus and stuff. But I think that I believe TSM tried to ban him out one game. I think it was a game 2. I think maybe. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm really interested to see what they do, because like you almost want to keep Meteos off of stuff like Skarner maybe. So I feel like it's going to be kind of a like a lot of bluffs and a lot of like, well, we'll bait you into taking this because we have a counter pick prepared. I feel like there's going to be a lot of like giving up stuff because they just can't take away everything that they want. So I feel like there's going to be like, okay, well, you'll get this, but we're going to get this in exchange, and you can have that, but we'll counter pick it with this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of kind of trades. as opposed to just like, we'll just shut you off and you can't pick anything you like. There's just too much that these players can play now, even with all the bans that are available nowadays.
TSM banned Caitlyn in Game 2.
Yeah.
Apollo got it Game 3, and then Game 4 they didn't ban it, but Zevin picked it.
Yeah, because TSM banned. You're right, they banned Caitlyn.
And
yeah,
then,
I feel like there was.
And then he went 6-0-7 on Jhin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Is like I feel like there's a lot of AD carries that are pretty decent right now. If you can play them properly. And I think that Apollo has proven that he's not just a Caitlyn one trick like a lot of people kind of think him to be or thought him to be and stuff like that. Because he hasn't played a ton of Caitlyn, but he played great on Jhin. He played great on Kog. That Kog game was really good. I mean, part of it was team play as well, because he had when Kog is pretty easy to play when you've got a front line that can just keep everything safe for you. But that was one of the big reasons that Clutch won that game. Is like Sven. That's one of the notes that I had in that game. Is like Sven's getting barely any damage off his Varus because he has no room or time to do it, and Apollo is just unloading as Kog'Maw because he's safe in the backline and his front line is so beefy. Like Swain was doing such a good job zoning, and that's why I was kept praising Forbidden in the team fights. I really feel like Forbidden like carried a lot of those team fights, and obviously like we said, everybody else was playing well, but like Forbidden was like really doing well in team fights.
Though a lot of that definitely has to do with Swain, and so I think
I was just about to say keep him off Swain, and then it'll help a lot with that.
And so, you mentioning like lots of AD carries as the option to play different champions. Like in general, I'm actually pretty happy with how the game is balanced right now. I think things are in a really good spot, especially after the removal of Tracker's Knife. Like, I mean, if you sit and think about it, like, yeah, obviously it's going to have a big impact, but it's like I didn't kind of feel it in my gut until watching a few games after that. Then just like you suddenly realize, especially because the spectators and the camera guys have been fantastic this split, and like just constantly just quick little blink to show you one side's vision, and it's just so dark. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Compared to how it normally is. And so, but yeah, so for meta overall, I really like it, except Swain is just, he's just too strong. Too strong.
Yeah, he's definitely a picker ban for sure. I feel like they should just keep him off it's one of those things where it's like, well, blue side could first pick him or else he's going to be banned kind of thing. So it's like, it's going to be up to red side to ban him. I'm assuming. Because he's just ridiculously strong. After he gets past a certain point, it's just like you can't do anything to him, and the damage is insane. He's just super strong right now. Yeah, he's totally picker ban worthy.
And I mean, he's honestly kind of even at the point, like, I'm not sure how important the combo is now of I'm blanking, Xayah and Rakan. Being able to pick them together, like, would you let the other team get a Swain first pick in order to first pick those two together?
That entirely depends on, like, okay, well, is that going to be a flex Swain? And then if so, how do we have picks prepared for that? And it's like, because part of what is so threatening about the Swain is that it is a flex pick. So you can't just be like, oh, well, it's fine, they picked Swain because our mid laner has this as a counter or whatever. It's like, okay, well, our top laner might have to play against this. So if we pick our top early, they can, like, it adds such a layer of complexity to the champ select that it's very much like, unless you're picking him, I'd say just get him out of there. Like, just take him off the table. Even if you feel like you can play against him, it could be tricky to actually get the matchup that you want in order to play that out. So I'm personally just get him off the table, just get him out of there. After a certain point, that champ is just so stifling because not only is he like a frontliner basically, but he also does insane amounts of damage. Yeah. So you can't stop it very easily once he gets rolling.
Absolutely. Ooh. But yeah, it's gonna be a good weekend, I think. Good weekend, especially Sunday. So we've talked about this around the edges a little bit, and this is a nice little two-parter question. So was Clutch Gaming's win due to recent training, or do you think they just weren't showing their strength in the best of ones?
I think it's probably a combination of both. I think that Clutch definitely showed that, because if this series was a best of one, then we'd all be saying, "Whoa, TSM's so good, Clutch sucks. I can't believe how good they're. Oh my God, TSM's the best." But because it was a 5-game series and ended up being 4 games, Clutch showed that, hey, we adapt better. We're better in the long run. If you show us something, we're going to make adjustments and we're going to come back stronger. And can you adjust to our adjustments? And TSM proved that they couldn't. Mm-hmm. So I think it's one of those things where Clutch probably was better than they're showing. If there was best of 3s all series, maybe they would have been higher up potentially and maybe beating some of those top teams more. But I also think it was Clutch just doing a good job at preparing for this. Like, I think that they've all kicked it into gear. Like I said, everyone on their team stepped it up. Like, they've all been playing well this season. Mm-hmm. But like Hakuho playing out of his mind, Lyra playing like the old Lyra that we knew from like old school Envy, where it's like this guy is 1v9ing, like he's carrying the entire game. Like, look at him go! I can't believe this. And then Solo's 1v1ing people like Hauntzer, and it's like, everybody's doing their part. Like, all the pieces are really just clicking all at once here. So I think it's a combination of both things. I really give a lot of credit to the support staff of Clutch Gaming for giving them an easier path to victory in terms of just giving them the tools so they can pull out the win and show what they can do. But it's also, of course, just comes down to Clutch just playing well. They're just clicking right now. Even in the games where they were looking really good in the season, they did not look as good as they looked in this series. I think that Clutch is really stepped it up to another level right now, and I'm really excited to see what they do against 100 Thieves, because like I said, it could be like, oh, back to old school Clutch that everybody knows and is like, oh, they can't beat these top teams, they're just playing, they just can't step it up. But they stepped it up last series, so maybe they're going to continue that and just keep getting better and better and take over this league.
Yeah, I would argue it's more of recent training. And I say that because looking at their performance in Week 9 and the tiebreaker games, I mean, it's not exactly, true.
Best of ones though, right?
It was best of ones, but those were a lot of games that didn't necessarily develop their own kind of mini, a meta that develops within a best of 5, but a lot of games back to back. You have to have, the mental resilience and everything. I just feel like whatever they did training, it really did just kind of unlock them. What's the DBZ reference? They went into the training chamber.
The hyperbolic time chamber, I think is what it's called. Yeah.
And this is, went in for a week and came out with an extra split of training or something. But it definitely is potentially part of the best of ones, which then leads to the second part of the question. Do you think this season is going to cause people, and most importantly Riot, to swing back to best of 3s during the regular season? And this is all with the understanding, best of ones is better for viewing, and that's what Riot was trying to push, especially after they saw a big drop in viewership when they were splitting games up and everything. But setting that aside for the moment, do you think that will try that something, seeing a surprising strength like this, will people in Riot start to feel like we should go back to best of 3s?
I almost think the opposite. I feel like they're like, oh, this is perfect. Now people are going to be so excited and shocked, and there's going to be more upsets, and it's going to be more. And people are going to tune into games. They're not going to think anything's going to be a stomp, because they're like, well, who knows? They were best of 1s. Now they're best of 5s. So it's like, oh, everything's up in the air now. It's playoff time. It's crazy. Tune in. I feel like they're happy about this. That's what I feel. At least if I'm on Riot's end, I'm like, yeah, best of 1s. We're living the dream. This is perfect. There's just chaos at the end of the season. So overall, I feel like, and we always talk about this, for competitive integrity, the best of 3s would make more sense. But overall, the best of 1s are more entertaining to watch, because it's like, oh no, what can happen? You only have one shot.
Okay.
I've been thinking about that since I was a kid, because with traditional sports and stuff, I used to watch football as a kid. I used to watch stuff like hockey and baseball. And in stuff like baseball and hockey, there's hundreds of games in a season, where with football, it's 16 games. It's if you lose one game, that means a lot. So I kind of have that same sort of mindset with League, where it's ooh, the best of 1s are exciting because there's fewer games. Every game means so much more. If you botch a game at the beginning of the season, it's not oh, we can get it back later. It's hey, that might kick us out of playoffs. We have to be on the ball about this. Where best of 3s, kind of there is that oh, well, we threw out the first game, we'll win the next one sort of thing. And if you can do that, then that's totally fine. But I feel overall the best of 1s are in general probably more exciting, and I feel that's what they care about. I feel they don't care about us understanding who the better team is. I feel like they're just like, we want to just watch and have some fun, exciting games. Let's all watch League of Legends like that. I don't know.
That's a good point though. Like wanting that uncertainty factor, because if you have a double round robin consisting of best of threes, you really should have a very good idea of what's what's the team strengths and everything. So, but yeah, no, that's okay. Thinking about it, maybe that is for the best. Though, man, now you ruined my follow on to the follow on, which was what I was gonna say is it'd be really cool if we could get to a point where we have like a series every weeknight or something, potentially, or something like that, where you just have one best of 3, and so you have games spread throughout the week.
That should be kind of interesting.
That would potentially, you'd still run into the issues where if you have two, really low ranked teams, playing against each other, you're just going to worry. And so instead of sandwiching that as a single game in between more interesting games, but I don't know. I'm feeling like we're getting pretty close to the point where League could support that, especially if it were to expand, say, another 10 teams, and we have an East and West Coast like division or something like that. But
yeah, they tried the split in EU, and I think people hated it. I know I hated it. I didn't watch EU, but I still hated it looking at the standings. I was so mad about that. I was like, so this team is 5-2, but this team's 7-1. But they're worse than this team.
It's too small.
It's too small. Exactly. Yeah.
If you have 10-10, I feel like that works, and you have.
Yeah, but then the problem is you basically have half the league that's challenger player, like challenger level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's so tricky about it, and that's why I think they were having the debate about like whether they should go 8 teams, 12 teams, 10 teams, 14 teams, 16. How many should we have? And I feel like 10 is a good number because I feel like the bottom teams are still good enough to take games off the top teams every once in a while, but it's not low enough to where it's just like, oh well, this game's a stomp. Because that's what they don't want. They want to make sure that like at least the worst team in the league playing the best team in the league. Sure, we all know the best team's probably going to win, but there's always a chance. There's always a chance where it's like if you've got, 100 Thieves playing, I don't even know who's bad in Academy League right now. I don't know, but the worst team in Academy League, you know what I mean? They're gonna lose. They're gonna get stomped. It's not even gonna be close. So no one's gonna watch that. So it's such a delicate balance. That's why it's hard. There's no right answer. There's no like that makes sense. It's all just like, well, we could do that, but it's also going to hinder us in this aspect. And so I don't know. I feel like right now it's entertaining for the viewer, and I feel like that takes priority over everything else. Because at the end of the day, the reason we're doing this is because people will watch it. If no one's watching it, then no one's going to be doing it. Well, I mean, they probably still would be doing it, but it just wouldn't be broadcast.
Nah, I can get behind that, I suppose. Overall,
yeah, there's no easy answer. So it's like I think it's good enough right now. I enjoyed watching this season, NA at least. EU was fun too. I'm happy that EUs are back in one league and everything like that. And I think that the best of ones are fun and it's quick. And I feel like that's just the best viewing experience. And especially since like I've been watching every single game in NA and EU these past 3 weeks, that's a lot of games to watch. Like if it's best of threes, like people are just even the people that are like hardcores are simply just not going to watch some games. They're going to watch the first game and be like, okay, whatever, I'll just see how the series ended, because it's just like it's too much at that point. There's oversaturation, especially when there's so many different leagues. Like if people want to try and like watch, like if you want to watch NA, EU, and Korea, like good luck. You better like not have a job or something. Like you know what I mean? You better have some free time.
Or that is your job. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly. Or if you're getting paid for it, that's like really the only way you can put in the amount of time needed to watch all this stuff. So I feel like the best of ones are just a better viewer experience, and I feel like once we get into playoffs, it does make things more exciting. So viewers take priority.
And I think just because the excitement factor, that's probably going to be what really keeps it. So, okay.
Yep.
So, it doesn't look like Weldon's going to be joining us tonight, unfortunately. But still an interesting question here. Which team is in a better mental state after their quarterfinals? And by mental state, I mean better prepped to win against a tough opponent.
Well, I mean, if that's the specific definition of it, then I'd have to say Clutch, because I mean they just beat TSM, so it's like if you're prepared to beat a tough opponent, like they just beat the toughest. They're prepared to beat the toughest opponent of all time, basically. Like this is a team that has never not made playoffs finals, so it's like you're not supposed to beat them. They already did, so I'd have to say Clutch. That said, Liquid's mentality should be incredible. They just crushed Cloud9. And this is coming off of a season where they were kind of like trying things out, trying to get things to click. And then finally they're just like, hey, screw this. Let's just figure out one way that our team can win and just stick with that. Let's just do that. And they did. So I feel like right now they're kind of just like, well, we're on the right track. We're doing everything right. Like we are kind of fulfilling the prophecy of like of Team Liquid TSM in the finals, but like TSM's gone. So now they're like, oh, but we win. We're gonna win now. Like. And I think that Clutch is thinking exactly the same thing. They're like, well, we're going to win now. Like, so I think everybody is like, it's up for grabs. Let's go. I think everybody has a great mentality. It's going to be, can you keep that mentality after you lose one game, after you lose two games, which is what we saw with TSM, where it's like, yeah, the first game, their mentality was fantastic. They came in and crushed it. Absolutely fantastic. After that first game, things took a turn for the worst and just never got better. So is that going to happen to Liquid or Clutch when they have something go horribly wrong? But we've already seen it with Clutch. TSM crushed them game one, and they turned it right around. The beginning of game two, they like Forbidden's trolling with the TP, and like there's so much going wrong, and they're just like, whatever, who cares? Like you could even heard it in the comms when he was saying, he was like, oh, never mind, I'm trolling. Like it wasn't like, oh, I screwed up, I'm so stupid, I'm sorry guys, I just lost us the game. Oh no, there's 3 minutes now where I don't have a summoner spell. This game's over, I suck, sorry team. It's like, oh, I'm trolling, whatever. It's just like, okay, who cares? Next. Like, let's just, whatever. 2 minutes later, they're just like, okay, Lyra's just going to kill Mike Young. All right, cool. We're back in the game. Whatever. Like, whatever. You're just like, I'm trolling. Sorry. Immediately on to the next thing, which is exactly what you want. It's like, mistake was made. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Let's keep going. Just keep going. Because it really, those small mistakes are they're so much more potentially devastating to your mentality than the actual outcome of the game. Yeah. So it's going to be a matter of who can keep the better mentality right now, because I think that both Clutch Gaming and Team Liquid's mentalities are like through the roof right now. Like they're on. I don't want to be mean. Yeah. I was gonna say they're on Cloud9 right now. So, sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. Liquid is at least. Clutch is in mid right now.
So overall, in general, I think I would agree, except I still keep coming back to the feeling that TSM screwed up. And so the Team Liquid mentality, I feel like, is, yeah, you had close games, all three, and you maintained yourself very well. You even came back from Decipit. I don't know, it just felt like their gameplay was just more cohesive and constantly together, and just I'm struggling to find the words to really describe it, but it just felt like they're more there. And so that mentality is going to be easier to carry over, whereas Clutch, I feel like they might have a bit of, they had a good mentality going into it, and they were able to recover from poor starts, but it's almost kind of quality of opponent, where TSM almost showed like they were a worse opponent than Cloud9 was for Liquid. I mean, not exactly.
I think you swap it up and have TSM playing Cloud9. I think TSM crushes Cloud9. I think that CG. I absolutely agree that TSM didn't really play very well, especially as the series got on. Like by game 4, it was like, what are we doing here, guys? But I feel like CG played really well. I do agree with you that I feel like Team Liquid's actual team cohesion is better than Clutch's in a way. I feel like they move as a unit better than Clutch, where I feel like Clutch, a decent portion of why they did so well was just because each player individually played very well, where I feel like Team Liquid kind of plays, they have more of a kind of like a team focus, I almost feel like, and I have no real like actual evidence to back that up. Just thinking back on their games, I feel like in my head, I feel like Team Liquid's more of a ball when Clutch Gaming is more like they spread out a bit more and then come together after kind of thing, where I feel like Team Liquid is like, all right, let's get lanes pushing, let's ball up, let's get vision around an objective and try and figure that out kind of thing. But I feel like Team Liquid is like, we're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be in the finals. We're supposed to win this. Where I feel like Clutch Gaming is like, we're not supposed to be here. No one expects us anything from us. Like we have nothing to lose. Who cares? Like let's win this. Who cares if we lose? We've already beaten TSM. So I feel like it'll be easier for Clutch Gaming to get crushed in 2 games and go down 0-2 and come back and win 3-2 than it will for Liquid to do something like that. I feel like if Liquid goes down 2 games to CG, they're like, oh crap, we're basically TSM 2.0 right here, and it's going to be the same fate is going to be for us, and it's going to be CG and 100 Thieves in the final. And then 100 Thieves is going to win just so it makes it look like CG was a worse team and we suck that much worse. It's like, I feel like it'd be easier for them to get into that mindset. That said, they have a ton of veterans on their roster, so maybe they won't tilt, but I feel like Team Liquid's I feel like their team is more volatile than Clutch Gaming. I feel like Clutch Gaming is much more friendly than Team Liquid. So I feel like when mistakes are made with Team Liquid, I feel like it's like, this is a business and you just didn't fill your end of the bargain. Like, what are you doing? Get out of my office sort of thing. Where I feel like Clutch Gaming is like, oh, you made a mistake? Whatever, man. Come over to my house. We're having pizza and sodas. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for Clutch Gaming to have horrible things happen and them just brush it off. No biggie. We'll just keep going. Where Team Liquid, I feel like if something catastrophic happens, I feel like it'll be more difficult for them to turn that around. That said, I feel like something catastrophic probably won't happen to Liquid, but I don't know. I'm so excited for this series. Or no, wait, not this series. Yeah, is it? No, sorry. This might potentially be the finals, but I'm so excited for Team Liquid to face Echo Fox, Clutch Gaming to face 100 Thieves. And then, of course, whoever makes it to the finals there, I'm so excited for that because all of these teams, I have no idea how really, truly good or bad they are. I think, to go back to our last question, that's part of why the best of ones are fun. It's like, oh, wow, this is the first series we've actually seen them in. Are these teams better than I thought? Are they worse than I thought? Who's going to show up? What's going to happen?
Yep.
There's more up in the air, so it's as a fan, it's much more exciting. As players, it's probably more just like, well, if we're playing best of fives, why weren't we practicing this all season? Like, but that's why, I mean, they scrim in best of threes usually, so at least hopefully they have some practice in that.
Yep.
It's one of those things. But yeah, so to roundabout answer, both mentalities are going to be super high. Clutch Gaming, I have a little bit higher.
Gotcha. And I would push back just a little bit, especially because there's no way to prove me wrong, that TSM wouldn't necessarily roll over Cloud9, I don't think, because Cloud9 played very well, especially in the beginning, and TSM was never played well once they got behind. And so if I absolutely think there would have been at least 1 or 2 games where TSM just utterly crushed them, but I feel like Liquid would have performed better from behind than TSM would have. And so if Cloud9 had been able to get those same early advantages, then they just would have been able to go on and win versus TSM. Whereas Liquid was able to come back. And so that's where I would argue potentially the team matchups is poor for Clutch Gaming, their enemy. But again, that's completely unprovable at the moment. So
no, but I agree with you. I think that's entirely possible. And that's the thing is, of course, that's why we have no idea, because who's going to show up, what team's going to show up? Because on paper, TSM, it looks so much better. But on paper, C9 looks great. I'm like Sneaky and Smoothie, and I think of the bot side of TSM, or not TSM, C9, sorry, Jensen, Sneaky, Smoothie. I'm like, that's like an all-star trio right there. Like, why are they dying? You know what I mean? Like, there's same thing like with Sven and Mithy there, and I'm like, why are they dying? Why are they getting caught out? Like, these guys are better than this. So if they show their true potential, then I feel like TSM's a better team than C9, but C9 could very easily have if in our hypothetical scenario here, very easily could have taken the series against TSM after you saw how they played against Clutch, because they unraveled. That's the image I had in my head. I was like, I had a spool of thread in my mind, and it was unraveling. I'm like, they're just like, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. They started out so good. They had that nice thick spool, and then by the end, they're just like, what are we doing? So
not much.
Yep.
And so, unfortunate that Weldon's not here, but I'll be sure to send this to him directly. And good note to end on. So, back to our trusty pain assessment tool. How much does it hurt, TSM? How much does it hurt? And I'd say it's probably worst pain possible, right there, at the moment. Nice and 10. Yeah.
And that's the thing is that, like we said before, TSM has always made it to the finals. Even if they haven't won, they've made it to the finals. And I'm personally not a TSM fan, so I don't know how this feels to like. I'm an old school CLG fan, so I'm used to just feeling like crap all the time. So I don't know how this feels to do really well, and then get let down like this, especially when their roster was so promising. Like if in the offseason everyone was saying like, oh TSM, like oh they're killed, oh that upgrade, oh my god I can't believe this, they're going to be so strong.
Yep.
And yeah, so the one bit of potential positivity here, glass half full, is like, well, this was spring. It was spring playoffs.
Yes.
We got summer, maybe. We can figure it out in summer. But yeah, so that's why I'd put it at a 9 personally, because if this happens in summer, then we're at a 10, maybe even an 11. Maybe we're breaking the scale at that point. If this happens kind of twice in a row, but TSM still has a chance to redeem themselves, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's TSM. They'll probably. I still have faith in them for some weird reason, even after that horrible series. I'm still like, no, they're going to get better. They're still going to win NALCS in the summer somehow. I don't know. But yeah. So I'd say if I was a TSM fan, though, I could very reasonily understand it being 10.
Yeah.
I feel for them. I really do.
It's funny too, because I feel like it probably, like if things had gone wrong with tiebreakers and everything, or underperformed in week 9, and they had not made the playoffs.
Not make the playoffs.
I feel like that actually would have been less pain than this.
Better somehow,
you could say like, oh, best of ones. We took a little while to gel and mesh. We obviously were looking better towards the end, but we missed it by just as much. Okay, it hurts a lot, but we'll pick it up. But for them to get into playoffs, get into the best of 5s where they're supposed to just be fantastic and amazing, and then to fall, kicks it up a notch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if they didn't give us a taste of that, then we would have all just been thinking, oh well, just bad split, it's all good, they'll turn it around in summer. But now it's like, oh well, they turned it around, and then when they were supposed to be their best, that's when they were their worst. They were even worse than they were earlier in the season. It reminded me back of like, there was a couple times there back in the early games where Mithy, like Tom Kench ulted like in team fights, or like try to like finish off people in team fights and stuff, and they would just die right away. And I'm just like, what?
They were like 8,000 gold back, and you're trying to take a 2v. Was it 3 or 4? Like it was a 2v. Yeah, it was a 2v3 or 4. Yeah, exactly. In the top lane there. But yeah, that's why I really feel like TSM has this mentality of like, oh no, we lost a bit. We have to turn it around. We have to make plays to turn it around. We're all really good players. Let's make those plays. And I feel like each player almost puts it on themselves to be like, I have to be the one to turn it around. It has to be me to make those plays. And then they try, and then they screw up. And the next person's like, oh no, that guy screwed up. I'll be the one to save it. I'll be the one to turn it around. And then it's just this domino effect where it's just like, hey, we got a little bit. We got a couple kills in this team fight. Just use that to set up vision and clear waves and not screw up anymore. Where TSM, I feel like they almost – it's kind of like what I was talking about with Team Liquid before, where I feel like Team Liquid is trying too hard to be good, and they just need to try hard to be okay. Like just worry about what you do well and just do that over and over and over again. Whereas I feel like TSM, not in exactly the same way, but in a semi-similar way, are just like they're trying too hard to be good. And it's just like, you don't need to have the game 1 early game you guys had every single game. You don't have to just crush everybody every single game.
you can just slowly win. And like Team Liquid style, have 3 close games, but you pull out the decisive team fight or decisive Baron take every single time and just get really good at making sure those aren't 50-50s, they're 80-20s. And in a best of 5, 80-20 is more than good enough to win the series. Where I feel like TSM's like, we need to crush every single game. If we get behind, we got to turn it around right now. And that's the exact opposite of my mentality and play style. So like when I see TSM do it, I get like PTSD and I'm like, my solo queue game is like it's just so it's I feel bad for TSM, and I feel like they should take a page out of Liquid's book and just keep it simple. Just keep it as simple as you possibly can. You guys are good enough to play a very base level strategy and still win because you're just better than most people. So don't try and prove that you're better than them. Just show it. Just kind of go through the motions. Just let the game play itself.
Good words. All right. We actually have a couple of questions here waiting for us. So first one, what does Clutch Gaming have to do to beat 100 Thieves?
They have to make sure that Someday does not carry somehow, and they have to make sure that Afro and Meteos' duo is shut down as much as possible. Most likely, 100 Thieves is going to spend a lot of time around bot lane like they usually do. So I'm expecting there to be lots of Meteos, Afromu, get this, Cody Sun, follow up, there's a kill, shove the wave, back off, do it all over again, take dragons, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that Clutch Gaming, if they have Lyra put a lot of pressure on Meteos and make sure that if Meteos is spending his time, say, ganking bot, then Lyra is ganking top or something, or taking Rift Herald, or invading the jungle and stealing camps, or setting up Vision, or whatever it is. Just make sure that if 100 Thieves is going for something, you're going for something elsewhere, or you're there for some Clutch counter ganks. I think that Clutch can kind of bet that they are going to be ganking bot, so I think Lyra can spend a lot of time around bot if their plan is to counter gank, if they feel like the kind of the champions match up and they want to try and have that early pressure. Because I feel like 100 Thieves is very good once they get the lead. So I feel like it's going to be up to Clutch Gaming to just kind of stabilize the game. Yeah, just keep everything calm, and then Clutch can take over a little bit later in the game. So I'm expecting a good play out of Lyra in order to be able to kind of stabilize the game. And I think that Solo should be able to hold his own against Someday. What I'm potentially worried about, though, is Someday counterpicking or something like that, or if he just pops off. I really feel like Someday very easily could be like the difference in this series, even though people will probably be looking towards the bot lane with Afro and Hakuho and stuff like that. But I'd say really try and make sure that Meteos isn't able to make a lot of plays early, and then make sure that your vision is really, really good later in the game, or else you're going to get picked off. They're going to take Baron from you. There's going to be like some Ryu Talia wall for them to sneak Baron, or like some Ryze ult for them to escape right after. They're gonna do some plays like that. So make sure you have good vision. Make sure the lanes are pushed out, and really, like I said, the biggest thing I think is to make sure that Meteos does not start snowballing any lanes. Just keep him in check. Make sure he's just farming and everyone's calm.
So you would say the premier matchup then is probably going to be jungle, or the deciding matchup. Maybe not even necessarily.
That's the thing is, I feel like every lane except for mid, like every role except for mid, has the potential to like pop off and be very volatile. My assumption is that top lane is going to be very calm, but I could very easily see Someday just going crazy somehow. Or who knows, maybe Someday will screw up and Solo will take over, because Solo has the ability to do that nowadays. Yep. But yeah, I think that Forbidden will play chill early. Ryu doesn't really pop off that much early. I feel like both those guys are more like team phase players. And I feel like bot lane will be pretty volatile, especially with Afro and Hakuho. Who knows what champs they're playing, but I feel like bot lane will decide a lot. And I feel, so if I had to pick two, I'd say bot lane and jungle, but top lane I think is definitely right up there. I feel like mid will be a little calmer though.
Gotcha. Febiven or Pobelter?
I'd probably have to go with Forbidden because he's more consistent. I really like the consistency of Forbidden. He doesn't have much pressure in lane, but he just always has good CS numbers. He's always good in team fights. Even though he is getting pushed under his turret and stuff like that, he's actually pretty good at punishing when they do stuff. Like, so if the rest of your team can survive that kind of aggression from the roaming mid or whatever it is, then Forbidden's great. Pretty much like all you have to do is just not lose early and he'll carry you later. I always say like just you have to carry him until he can carry you. So as long as you can do that, he's a great player. Where Pobelter, I think, is a little bit more of a team player, even though Forbidden is a very team-oriented guy as well. But I have more faith in Forbidden to play well every single game than I do in Pobelter. I think Pobelter sometimes is really good, sometimes is a little off. I think Pobelter is a great player, though. I think Forbidden's consistency is just insane.
Okay. And then let's see. What did you think about Forbidden's LeBlanc?
That was the game 1, I think.
Was it game
right?
1?
Yeah, that was the game 1 where they lost.
Yeah, he just played.
I thought it was not bad, if I remember correctly. I think Forbidden just wasn't, not Forbidden, I think just LeBlanc wasn't probably the greatest pick in that situation. I'm no LeBlanc player, so I don't really know the LeBlanc matchups and stuff. I feel like Forbidden played well on LeBlanc. I feel like just in general that wasn't that good of a pick for the situation, and I also feel like the team overall didn't play that well. I feel like his actual LeBlanc play, like if you're literally just saying like how well did Forbidden play that specific champion, I feel like it was fine. I just feel like overall it wasn't a great pick for the scenario, and his team wasn't playing that well. And Bjergsen, and like I said, that was the game where Bjergsen again, like level 2, is like invading the enemy jungle and just like there.
And it's not something LeBlanc can really do that early.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is like Bjergsen's just going to shove and wave clear. So pretty much it was up to Forbidden to try and make picks in like mid and late game and stuff, and he did a half decent job of that. It was just like his team got too far behind early, and LeBlanc is a little bit more of a snowbally pick, or like has to apply split push pressure later, and you couldn't really do that. So I think that overall it just wasn't a great pick. I think the actual play on the champion was totally serviceable, totally fine, but just overall, yeah, not the best.
Okay. All right, we'll do one more question here. So. Talking about best of one and how has it made the split more exciting? We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I mean, yeah, just in general, it's the chance for teams to do an upset, introduce some cheese, you know, and it leaves you a little uncertain where teams are at the end of the season, so it makes playoffs a lot more exciting. But then the second part of this question is, does it make NA better for long term in terms of world success?
No, it would be worse. Yeah. You'd want to practice how I say practice would be NALCS is like practice for worlds, I guess, but you'd want to practice how you're eventually going to play, and I think that would potentially hinder NA. And also, you're just playing less games. I honestly think that's probably the biggest thing, more so than the series, is you're literally just playing less games on stage. Like that's a huge factor. That's one of the things the players complain a lot about the best of ones, is they're just like we don't play enough. I want to play more. I'm playing 2 games a week. That's nothing. They're like I play like 12 games a day, like more. I play like 14 games of League a day. Like I don't want to play 2 per week. Like let's go. Let's get some games going.
Hey, maybe that's the happy compromise. Instead of doing a double round robin, do like a 4 times, everyone plays everybody else 4 times, and then you have some games on weeknights spread out like that potentially.
And that's the thing, is hopefully as esports and Riot and League and just LCS and stuff gets bigger and stuff, hopefully we can have more of that. I think before you were mentioning like kind of having like a different night for like a special like game of the week sort of thing, which I think would be cool, like if you relate to like the NFL, like Monday Night Football sort of thing. I think that'd be awesome, because even if there is only one game, if like Saturday you have 5 games, Sunday you have 5 games, and then Monday night or whatever it is, or Thursday or whatever it is, we have one game and it's a best of 3 series, and it's like two teams, even if it's like the 2 worst teams in the league, people are going to watch it because it's the one big thing that's on. And you can hype it up like it's so meaningful or whatever it is. Like I think that type of stuff would be cool. It's just a matter of how like actually viable that type of stuff is to implement. Where I think that running the best of ones is very easy for Riot to do. It's just simple for everybody. They don't have to pay staff as much because you're not running like full day things. It's like a 6-hour thing. It's like just a nice chunk and it's done. So I think it's one of those things where if in a perfect world we'd all have tons and tons of games each week and everybody be playing best of 5s nonstop and it'd be great. But what we have right now is all right. As a fan, it's very enjoyable. As someone who just wants the highest quality League of Legends, it could be better.
Yep. Pretty much agree. All right. Well, I think that does it for us tonight. Guys, thank you for joining in. Some excellent questions here at the end. Make sure to go and put in your picks for the weekend. TrackingThePros.com/predict. You can go in there and you can see everybody else's pick. You can see the history, and and last comment from chat is you look like if Monty and Jensen had a baby.
Okay. I haven't heard the Jensen one before. The Monty one I get a lot, especially when my hair was a little different. When I had more of a Monty haircut. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully those are two good-looking guys there.
There you go. End the night on a very nice little compliment of sorts. All right, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.